Revealed. The sinister rules of a haunted retirement home for 7 cursed monsters you never knew. Night fell quickly over Golden Acres, a retirement home swathed in a deceptive serenity. Claire Thompson had been a nurse long enough to recognize the warnings that came tinged with innocent smiles. At first glance, its picket fences and blooming dogwoods whispered comfort, but something sinister lurked beneath the surface. Shadows danced along the pristine halls, echoing laughter twisted into sinister murmurs. "Get her out before the first full moon," an elderly woman rasped, her hands quivering as she passed Claire in the corridor. The intensity in her gaze sent prickles of unease skimming across Claire's spine. Moments later, the same woman disappeared into her room, leaving a hollow silence that was soon shattered by the distant crack of thunder. Claire paced their small room, anxiety coiling around her like a tightening noose. Her mother, barely coherent, watched a rerun of a game show, blissfully unaware of the dark hints lurking within the walls. Outside, the rain fell like a warning, drumming against the window panes, each drop echoing her mounting dread. The laughter from the other residents, all sweaters and smiles, began to morph. Something sour lying just out of sight. Storm clouds rolled in, flattening the sky with a heavy shroud. The whispers seeped through, an unsettling rhythm that set her heart racing. Sounds of thumps and scraping echoed like scratching nails behind the walls. It felt as if the home sighed, restless in the dead of night. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but every flicker in the lights sent Claire's stomach churning with dread. She spent sleepless nights piecing together half-glances exchanged between residents, the strained smiles of the staff that felt glued on. Each time she caught the gaze of her neighbors, it was like peering into murky water that reflected something horrific. Then it happened. A shrieking woman in a darkened hallway, her voice stifled mid-yell, abruptly went silent. Anxiety surged through Claire, desperate to find her mother safe. The tentative bonds of community felt more like a tethering line binding them to something dark. With another storm swirling outside, the room vibrated with rising tension. Claire's mother groaned, clutching her chest. Panic rose as Claire rushed to her, noticing the clock ticking eerily, the minute hand agonizingly close to 12. Each disappearance aligned with the moon's cycle. The truth writhed just beyond her comprehension. Yet Claire heard the whispers convulsing around her. "You can't stay, you mustn't stay," with her mother gasping for air. Claire felt the home closing in, a beast ready to swallow them whole. Dark figures moved with sinister intent just out of sight, shadows whispering their secrets in a cruel symphony. The lines of normalcy crumbled as Claire pieced together horrifying connections, each revelation dragging her deeper into the home's twisted folklore. As the wind howled fiercely outside, the lights flickered ominously, plunging everything into a foreboding darkness that felt palpably alive. Claire clutched her mother tighter, heart hammering, knowing that every shadow lingering near was closing in. The residents began to form a circle in the common room, chanting in unison, their voices crawling under Claire's skin, suffocating her with dread. "Join us, become one with Golden Acres," they beckoned in a chorus that rattled the very essence of her being, a prelude to the horror she hovered on the edge of. As Claire grasped the truth, this quaint facade hid monsters. It became clear. Escape was her only hope before the darkness claimed them all. Claire's pulse raced as the residents' chant echoed through the hallways, reverberating like a funeral dirge. The rhythmic thud of her heart matched the cadence of their eerie refrain. She could feel the walls pressing in on her, breathing heavily, hungry for the despair that radiated from the gathering in the common room. "Please, Mom, stay with me," she whispered, feeling her mother's frail body weaken beside her. The old woman's breaths were ragged, as if each inhalation pulled her closer to a shrouded doom. Claire felt the panic clawing at her throat. The storm outside rattled against the windows, wind shrieking like the trapped souls she imagined forced into those sinister corners. A faint flicker of light caught her attention. She turned back to the common room just as the residents swayed, their smiles deepening into grotesque masks. Nightmarish figures flitted behind them, remnants of those who had vanished before. Shadowy faces twisted into taunts, watching Claire with glimmering eyes. Get out! The ghost of a voice, barely a whisper, brushed against her ear. She looked down at her mother, who seemed to fade away with every ounce of hope Claire grasped. I won't let you go. Not like this, she promised, her voice strangled with desperation. With a shaky breath, Claire rose to her feet, supporting her mother against her shoulder. Each step sent icy tendrils of fear spiraling through her. She steeled herself, trust clinging desperately to the flickering memory of the old woman's warning. Before the full moon, the common room loomed at the end of the hall, the residents now fully engulfed in their macabre dance. It was like watching marionettes on strings made of agony. She knew she had to get to the exit, to escape the noose that tightened around her existence. But the shadows seemed tormented, shifting and flickering, blocking her path like hungry wolves. Join us, become one. The whispers grew louder, each syllable igniting fear like a flame to kindling. Claire wanted to scream, but all that escaped was a terrifying wail that echoed into the hollow hall. Without thinking, she turned to her left, pulling her mother toward a side door that seemed to evaporate into the darkness. With trembling hands, Claire grasped the cold metal handle, praying it wouldn't betray her. As she pushed the door open, a swirling gust flung back her hair, chilling her to the bone. The outside world had transformed. The once simple flower beds morphed into twisted shrubs that clawed at the ground, branches contorting like grasping hands. Moonlight shone down, an eerie spotlight illuminating twisted paths ahead, each flickering with shadows that beckoned her back. Mom, we have to hurry, Claire urged, panic coursing through her veins. But as soon as she stepped outside, a deep rumble echoed from within the home. The walls shuddered, creaking ominously. Behind her, the door slammed shut, the resonance thunderous, as if confirming a final verdict. Voices erupted in a cacophony, wailing and pulsing with terrible anguish. Claire spun back, dread snaking its way through her core. No, no. She clawed at the door, wanting it to reopen, yearning to rush back to the illusions of safety within. But the shadows danced freely, laughing, cackling, hands outstretched as if to embrace her. Suddenly, Claire's mother shrieked, her body going rigid, eyes wide with terror. They're coming! They're coming! The ancient chant had morphed into a haunting chorus, calling out something primal that thrilled in the horror of the night. Claire's heart hammered wildly. The full moon hung high above, a ghostly eye watching as the shadows converged around them, threatening to sweep them back into the dark. Follow the light. Don't look back, Claire screamed, taking her mother's unsteady hand, dragging her toward the single flickering lantern that stood defiantly against the gathering dark. It pulsed like a heartbeat, resonating hope, but behind them the haunting voices rose, every word dripping with malice. Join us as they hurried towards the light. Claire's heart dropped as she looked back, wide-eyed horror seizing her once more. The residents had transformed, their faces drawing closer, shadows writhing in a grotesque dance. Would they reach the light in time, or would they become one with the whispers of golden acres? As terror enveloped her being, Claire could feel the darkness reaching out, waiting, poised for another soul to devour. Claire tugged her mother forward, feet pounding against the uneven ground as the flickering lantern loomed closer. The air grew thick, the chill of the night wrapping around their legs like icy serpents. Behind them, the chant escalated, rising and falling like a monstrous tide. Don't stop. Please, don't stop, Claire urged, gripping her mother's frail hand. Every yanked step felt like a tether to sanity, and the shadows behind them pulsed and swayed, alive, throbbing with dark hunger. Then she heard it, a voice shouting from the depths of the home, sharp and commanding. You cannot escape your fate. It sliced through the night, freezing her blood. The wailing of the residents intensified, transforming from a chant into something more sinister, almost jubilant. Suddenly, her mother stumbled, knees buckling. "I can't, Claire. I can't," she gasped, her breath catching in her throat. Panic exploded in Claire's chest. "No, you have to." Claire felt her mother's body weaken against her. With a last burst of adrenaline, Claire grasped her mother's arm, lifting her as if every ounce of her being depended on it. She could feel the warmth slipping away, the life dimming. "Stay with me. We can't give in." They pressed on, the light ahead flickering with frantic urgency, like the heart's last pulse. Claire glanced back, desperation spiraling into horror. The residents had gathered at the door, their grotesque forms spilling out like rancid smoke. Glowing eyes searched hungrily for their prey. "No, no," Claire screamed, tugging fiercely at her mom. "Not now." The shadows loomed larger, stretching their fingers as if reaching for scraps. Inside her, a voice whispered, sharp with reason. "You must feed them." "Shut up," Claire exclaimed, spitting back the horror that gnawed at her. "We're getting out." But doubt tugged at her. A sick feeling gnawed deep in her stomach. The light began to flicker again, dimming in rhythm with her mom's breathing, which was slowing, labored. It was almost as if the lantern knew that life was fading against the insatiable darkness. "Just a little closer," Claire shouted, her heart racing. Hope turned to dread as the ground beneath them seemed to ripple, textures shifting beneath her feet like quicksand. "Step into the light," another voice echoed, different from the others, seductive and soft, promising safety, promised relief. "You will be free." A chill slithered down Claire's spine. Was it another trick? "No," she spat, forcing herself to move forward. "Not like that." But as the shadows advanced, encircling them, they turned into silhouettes of people. The faces morphed into memories, her friends, her family, lost souls mocking her. They laughed, their voices mingling in a twisted harmony, drowning her in despair. "Join us, Mom. Please." Tears streamed down Claire's face, mixing with the rain that started to pour from the sky. "I want to leave you." But all she heard was the hollow sound of her own breaths, each one echoing the inevitability of the night. Claire fought against it, realization crashing down like a brutal wave. She was trapped in a game far more sinister than she had imagined. With a surge of fear and anger, she steered her mother towards the light, unwilling to back down. But the shadows clawed at her heels, desperate to pull her back. "You belong with us. You know you want to." They whispered sweet seductions, each word dipped in poison. Before Claire could reach the lantern, the wind howled fiercely. It knocked her off balance, and she stumbled, dragging her mother down with her. On the ground, Claire hurled herself toward the light, but suddenly she heard her mother's voice, eerily calm. "I can't hold on anymore." "No," Claire screamed, feeling her heart rupture. As she turned to her mother, shadows loomed over them, intertwining around her, and then everything went dark. The ground shook with an unsettling stillness, smothering any light. Claire clutched her mother closer as whispers surrounded them, growing in volume, drawing closer. "You have chosen." The voice echoed, filling the void around them. "The night is yours now." In a heartbeat, glittering eyes penetrated the darkness, relentless and haunting, leaving Claire breathless and trapped. What had she awakened? In that moment of collective terror, just before the world swallowed her whole, she realized she wasn't alone. Something darker slithered in the shadows, a force awakened, and Claire had only just begun to understand the sinister rules of Golden Acres. Would she find a way to survive, or had she already signed her fate away? The darkness closed in, thick as molasses, smothering any sound but the frantic beating of Claire's heart. A wave of dread washed over her. Was she alive? Was her mother with her? "Mom!" Claire's voice cut through the unyielding black, raw and urgent. Silence. A silence that echoed louder than a scream. Claire strained her senses, willing the nothingness to reveal itself. Something whispered beyond the dark, a sound that felt like breath skimming her neck. Suddenly, a flicker. A tiny, wavering light appeared just beyond where the shadows clung to each other. It was the lantern, but distorted, its glow almost futile against the abyss. Claire felt a pull, as if it wanted to draw her in, wanted to absorb her despair. The light beckoned, promising safety, yet something lurking in her mind cried against it. Take her. A voice hissed around her, dark and twisted, like roots slithering through soil. Feed the hunger. She belongs to us now. No, Claire shouted, panic spurring her forward. She stumbled against an unseen barrier, the air cold to the touch. Shadows writhed at the edge of her vision, whispering her name, but she could not succumb. Mom, we have to go. We can't stay here. The light pulsed with urgency. With every tremor of her heart, the lantern flared brighter. It illuminated splintered faces, distorted and grotesque, merging and twisting in a cacophony of sick laughter. They reached for her, their hands cold and hollow. Claire recoiled but pushed her head forward, straining to see. Mom! In the flickering glow, she finally saw her mother, still prone on the ground, her face pale and almost ethereal, like a candle losing its flame. Claire, her voice was fragile, a desperate whisper. Claire knelt beside her, scooping her into her arms. Mom, I want to let you go. We'll get out of here. But her mother's weight felt like lead, dragging Claire down with every heartbeat. The ground heaved beneath her, the whispers rising higher, a tide of noise crashing over her. You cannot leave. This is your home now. Your essence shall feed the curse. No. Claire struck the ground beneath her in frustration. I didn't choose this. We are not their prey. Flames of anger ignited within her. She could feel it, a heartbeat quickening, a survival instinct clawing its way up from her core. You cannot escape. The voices faded as her reality smashed against her resolve. Claire thought of her mother's warmth, her laughter, every memory playing like a slideshow in her mind, moments she would never let go. Together, she shouted, we'll fight. No one takes you from me. Gravity tugged at her, pulling her and her mother further into the encroaching darkness. The shadows pulsed with hunger, closing in, determined to drag them back. Claire dug her nails into the cool ground, pushing against the encroaching pull. The lantern flickered and surged, sending a thread of shimmering light far and wide. Its radiance throbbed, brightening the oppressive gloom. Claire seized that light, holding onto it as if it were a lifeline. Mom, can you feel it? We have to reach it. Her mother's breath was shallow, a mere wisp, a thread of hope in the storm of despair. I don't know if I can. Claire came a voice, softer now, but laced with something that sounded like determination. Yes, you can. Please. The ground beneath them quaked fiercely. It wants to take you. We can resist. With every ounce of strength, Claire pulled her mother closer and surged toward the light, every step feeling like a mile. The whispers grew angrier. Dark tendrils snatched at Claire's limbs, but she pressed on, closer and closer. Screams erupted behind them as the figures shrieked in defiance of the light. The twisted faces contorted in rage. Shadows swirled and tangled like a storm. You cannot leave. They clawed and grasped, desperate for their prize. Run. Claire screamed, her mother's weight becoming almost unbearable. The light flickered rapidly now, back and forth, but it was a beacon igniting a primal strength within her. Just a little farther. And then, abruptly, a silence washed over them. A moment of stillness. Claire blinked against the brightness. Had they escaped? The tension rippled and then snapped. And in that moment of wonder, a shadow stretched across the ground, wide and dark. An enormous figure emerged from the depths of the void, towering. You thought you could escape. The voice slithered through the air, serpentine and smooth. Who are you? Claire's voice trembled, cold dread settling once again in the pit of her stomach as new terror bathed them. I am what you awakened, and you will stay forever. As the figure loomed closer, Claire's heart raced. How could they fight this new evil? How could they survive? The answers lay hidden in the darkness surrounding them, and in that moment of paralyzing fear, Claire realized she was only beginning to understand the true depths of Golden Acres. What horrors awaited her in the shadows, and how far was she willing to go to save her mother? The air thickened, suffocating as the figure stepped into the sickly glow of the lantern. Claire clutched her mother tighter, the frail body trembling against her chest. Both women locked in a moment of pure terror. The figure towered, a twisted silhouette formed of all the nightmares she had ever feared. It had no face, just a swirling mass of darkness and eyes, too many eyes that glowed like embers in a dying fire. "This is your last place of refuge," it hissed, its voice a chilling melody of despair. "You are bound to this cursed ground." Claire's heart hammered in her ears. "No, we will fight," she shouted, though doubt seeped into her words. The flicker of the lantern flickered dimly, as if even it feared the presence looming before them. Its glow faltered, and the whispers grew louder, circling them like vultures. "You think light can save you?" the entity purred, the rancid stench of decay wafting from it, overwhelming Claire's senses. "You tread on the remains of those who tried. Don't listen to it," Claire, her mother, whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "We have to be quiet," Claire roared, fear and desperation gnawing at her resolve. The shadows responded, writhing in fury, tentacles of darkness curling toward them as if alive. "See how the light wavers?" the figure taunted, stalking forward with an unnatural grace. "It knows your plight. When it fades, so do you." Claire felt the truth in those words. With each moment, the gasping breath of her mother pulled her toward despair. She swallowed, dredging up every memory, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the sound of laughter, the promise of safety in the sunlight. Those thoughts fueled her anger, igniting the spark of defiance burning deep within. "No, I won't give up," Claire shouted, surprising herself with her own fierceness. "We will find a way." The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if her words were a flame chasing them back. But the entity merely chuckled, a sound devoid of mirth, echoing from the very air around them. "There is no escape, only joining the likes of me." With an urgency that felt primal, Claire pulled her mother to her feet. "Stay close," she shouted, taking the lead. The lantern's light flickered once more, invigorated by her determination, filling the void with its glow. Even as the malevolence surged forward, they started to move, inching away from the oppressive mass. The whispers turned to growls of fury, shadows slashed at their heels. The rancorous energy intensified, seeming to feed on their fear. Claire pushed down her panic, willing her legs to carry her faster. "Claire, wait," came a weak plea from her mother, who stumbled. Claire glanced back just in time to see her mother's face blanch, the shadows swirling hungrily at her feet. "Mom, you have to keep going," Claire shouted, panic slicing through her words like glass. I can't." Tears streamed down her mother's face, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "I'm losing." "No, you won't lose. Not now." Claire took her mother's hands, squeezing tightly, feeling the warmth fading from those fingers. "We are not alone." As if in answer, the lantern surged again, casting the horrific shadows back, illuminating the ghastly forms of those lost souls. Figures were rising from the ground, their faces twisted with despair. They seemed to be drawn toward the light, reaching out desperately. "Help us! Free us!" they cried, voices a haunting harmony layered with despair. "Claire, they're trapped," her mother sobbed, shaken by the sight. "We can't save them." But Claire was resolute. "If we free them, maybe they can help us too." Summoning every ounce of courage, Claire tightened her grip on the lantern and shouted, "You are not alone. Break the chains and rise with us." The buzz of tension thickened around them. The shadows hesitated, a pause pregnant with uncertainty. "Are you willing to sacrifice for their freedom?" the towering figure asked, its voice a sinister whisper laced with venom. Claire felt her heart race, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Could they risk it? What would sacrificing for the lost mean for them? "Claire." Her mother's words trembled, her grip slipping, as if the choice was made between them. What would they choose? Hope or despair? Light or shadow? As the lantern's glow flickered one last time, Claire felt the eyes in the darkness pinning her down, waiting in silence, hungry. Could she really pay the price? Would it be enough in the end? The moment hung heavy, and Claire realized that they were staring not just into the depths of the shadows, but into the very abyss of their choices. As the shadows gathered strength, a chilling question drifted through the air. What price would they pay to escape the haunted grasp of Golden Acres? The lantern's light flickered one last time, an echo of hope against the encroaching shadows. Claire's mind raced as the darkness pulsed, savoring the scent of fear. "I'll save us," she whispered, though the words felt as fragile as the flame they danced on. "Mom, listen to me," she said, urgency thrumming in her voice. "If we release them, maybe they'll fight back. They can help us." Her mother's gaze was hollow, the flickering lantern casting shades of dismay across her features. "You don't understand, Claire. These souls, they're cursed. They went mad long ago." But the plea was fading beneath the howls of despair surrounding them. The entity surged forward, the eyes in its shadowy form gleaming with malicious glee. "You seek to release them?" crooned, dripping with dark amusement. "Such delicious folly. You will only join their ranks." "Shut up," Claire yelled, rallying herself against the rising tide of hopelessness threatening to wash them away. "We are not afraid of you." But as she stood there, defiance blazing in her eyes, the shadows writhed like snakes, creeping closer, and snaring her legs. Each whisper from the lost souls struck like daggers, a cacophony of pain. "Help us, Claire. Don't leave us. Stop," Claire screamed, squeezing her eyes shut to block out the visions of torment. "You can't have us." Suddenly, her mother gripped Claire's arm, an almost painful strength. "We can't stay here," she rasped, the realization dawning between them like a fading echo. "If we free them, we may lose ourselves." The specter laughed, a sound hollow and chilling in the deathly quiet. "Choose," it shouted, the ground trembling beneath their feet. "A sacrifice for a sacrifice. What will it be?" Claire opened her eyes, the world around her warped by swirling shadows. She looked at the ghostly forms reaching out, their faces a mixture of agony and desperation. What if they're not just lost?" she murmured. "What if they can remember? And if they don't?" her mother countered, breath hitching. "What if you release them and it destroys us? Think, Claire." Time seemed to stand still as Claire grappled with the weight of the decision. Shadows throbbed, a heartbeat echoing the tumult within her. What was the price of freedom? Was there truly hope for anyone here? "Claire, run!" Her mother's voice broke through the storm of chaos, a cry of instinct and survival. "Go. We can't both know," Claire cried, shaking her head. "I want to leave you." But the shadows lunged, their hunger palpable, snatching at her mother's legs. Claire's heart raced as her mother's grip weakened, fear rising like bile. "You can't give up. We have to fight." In that moment, Claire felt something stir within her, an unyielding pulse of power, the lantern glowing with an intensity that washed over them. "I'll do it," she declared, desperation sharpening into resolve. "I'll break the curse. I'll free them." The ground shook, the entity roaring with rage as it reached towards her, darkness swirling dangerously close. "Foolish girl. You think light can save you?" The lantern burst into blinding brilliance, flooding the area. Shadows reeled back, hissing in fury. The lost souls hesitated, their twisted mouths parting in silent screams as they seemed to grasp what was happening. With a surge of strength, Claire raised the lantern high. "You are not alone. Rise with us." The darkness wavered, uncertainty rippling through it, and she focused deeper. Images of those bound to the ground filled her mind, laughter and love mixed with sorrow and loss. "Break free," she implored, every word fueled by raw emotion. "Claire," her mother cried, clinging to the last remnants of light. "Be careful." But Claire didn't hear. The shadows were retreating, the light cutting through. But at what cost? She could feel the weight of the curse pressing against her, a tide of souls desperate for release. Just as they seemed to be rising from the ground, a darkness surged forth, rushing at Claire like a wall. She braced herself, feeling the oppressive cold wrap around her. the last gasp of chilling despair before an explosion of light erupted. The lantern shattered into fragments of luminescence, scattering like stars across the night. As the blinding radiance crashed through the darkness, she felt herself pulled apart as screams rang out, souls of the forgotten releasing from their anguish. And in that instant, Claire realized the truth. A new price had been paid, and the horror wasn't over yet. She awoke, gasping, in an unfamiliar place surrounded by silence. What had happened? Where was her mother? As shadows crept around her once more, an unsettling question lingered in the air. Who had truly been freed? Claire blinked rapidly, forcing her eyes to adjust to the dim light. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, teasing her with movement. She sat up, heart racing, breath quickening. The cold stone beneath her was damp and unyielding, sending chills through her spine. A musty odor enveloped her, sour and stale, as if she had been trapped in a tomb. Where am I? She whispered, voice trembling. The last memory of the blast still hung in her mind, a tapestry of blinding light and desperate screams. She could taste the dread pooling in her throat. If she had awakened here, what had been released? What price had she paid for their freedom? The walls of the room were crumbling, an ancient decay oozing from every crevice. An oppressive weight bore down on her as she rose to her feet, the world slipping into more shadows than light. A low whisper echoed from the corners, teasing her ears. Help us, Claire, help us. The voices crawled beneath her skin, chilling her resolve. Were they the lost souls seeking release, or something worse? Get away from me, she shouted, summoning her courage. Claire scanned the room, searching for anything that might help. Everything was silent except for the whispers growing in number. She stumbled toward a window, the glass cloudy with grime. With every step, the shadowy figures in her peripheral danced in and out of view, growing more defined, more substantial. Claire, it was her mother's voice, no longer just a memory. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest at the thought of her, while guilt gnawed at her like a disease. Had she chosen to save the souls, only to doom her mother? The door swung open suddenly, creaking with age. A figure emerged, wrapped in shadows that clung to it like a cloak. Claire's breath hitched as she recognized the pallid face. It was the specter, the entity she had thought vanquished. You thought it was over? It hissed, layers of darkness swirling around it. You've opened the doors, Claire. The cursed wander free, and now you shall serve what? She spat, refusing to show fear. What do you want from me? The entity stepped closer, its breath freezing the air. You hold a key now, child. A key to many doors. Those you thought released may not be free at all. They are bound to you, forever entwined. You will witness their torment, and then your own. No, Claire shouted, fists clenched. You can't do this. But its laugh echoed through the room, chilling her to the bone. You already released them, and now, within these walls of despair, they will crave something more, a vessel, a new form. Suddenly, the shadows drew nearer, creeping closer with palpable hunger. Grasping hands began to emerge from the floor, festering spirits begging for release, their faces twisted in eternal agony. Join us, Claire, they screeched, their voices melding into a cacophony. Join us in our suffering. Claire felt the ground shaking beneath her as she backed away, heart pounding with terror. For each soul she had released, she sensed their desire pulsing, wrapping around her like a serpent ready to strike. Desperate, Claire turned to flee, but the specter was in her way. You must confront who you've freed. They will not be satisfied with mere whispers. Knowing she needed a plan, Claire recalled the lantern's light, the power it had once held. If they're bound to me, I can't be afraid. I can light the way, she determined. But what if her attempt to save them only drew them deeper into darkness? The echoes of their wails resonated within her, gnawing at her sanity. Suddenly, she heard her mother's voice again, small and fragile in the chaos. Claire, fight. Remember the light. I will, she vowed, the growing resolve igniting something deep within. But just as she gathered her strength, darkness enveloped her, the chilling laughter echoing like a death knell. With one last desperate cry, Claire called out, "I will not let you win." The room spun, shadows engulfing her, a whirlwind of despair. As Claire felt the darkness claim her, a flash of light shimmered in the void. She forced herself to focus, ready to reclaim her fate. But could she truly break the curse she had ignited? What awaited her on the other side as the shadows twisted and turned? She braced for what lurked behind the veil of despair. Clara's senses sharpened as the darkness melted around her, revealing a vast, cold expanse. The air crackled with energy, throbbing like her panicked heartbeat. She opened her eyes, squinting against bright light that sliced through the gloom. It was a desolate hallway, and flickering bulbs buzzed overhead, casting grotesque shadows on the peeling wallpaper. "Where is this place?" she mumbled, her voice echoing off the walls. An eerie silence answered her. She moved cautiously, half expecting something or someone to emerge from the shadows to claim her. Each step pulled her deeper into a realm that felt hellish. The whispers continued. Unsettling echoes of desperation scratched at her mind. The more she listened, the more afraid her thoughts became. "Help us, Claire," instinct kicked in, and she pressed forward. The air was thicker here. It felt alive, pulsating with a malevolent force. Images flashed in her mind, memories of the trapped souls she had sought to liberate. They were no longer faceless entities. Now they bore features, expressions twisted in agony, with eyes wide and pleading, as though she could see the very essence of their torment. Locked doors lined the hallway, each one vast and imposing. Claire brushed her fingers along the wood, cold and damp, where she felt faint vibrations like the heartbeat of a creature waiting for release. Glancing back at the way she came, the spectrous voice echoed through her mind, mocking her resolve. "You will not escape." A small window at the end of the corridor caught her eye. Light spilled through, a beacon in the oppressive landscape. She quickened her pace, desperate for that touch of warmth. As she reached the window, she felt a hand upon her shoulder, the chill creeping up the back of her neck. Spinning around, Claire gasped. A figure emerged from the shadows, eyes dark as voids. It was a woman, contorted in pain, her mouth open to form a silent scream. "Why did you come here?" the woman croaked. "You've awakened us. You've doomed us all." Claire stumbled backward, fear slamming through her. I was trying to help. I thought you wanted to be free." The woman's form flickered, her body unsettlingly out of focus. "We are bound by your choice. You are the key. The specter demands our suffering as tribute." "Tribute?" Claire breathed, words thick with horror. "Yes." The woman's voice rose, growing frantic. Each scream, every plea it feeds him. "He won't release us until you surrender to the void." Claire pressed her hands to her ears, trying to block out the noise. I won't give in. Help us," echoed through the hall, wave after wave, a storm that threatened to drown her sanity. But then, amidst the chaos, Claire remembered her mother's words. "Fight. Remember the light, the lantern." It flickered in her mind like a burning ember of hope. Just then, another door exploded open, a gaping maw of blackness, releasing a flurry of shadowed figures who tumbled forth, shrieking and clawing. They crashed around her, swirling with unbridled fury, their faces echoing her deepest fears. "Join us, Claire," they howled, their grip tightening like iron shackles. With every ounce of strength, Claire raised her hands, summoning the light that flickered deep within her, a beacon forged from resolve. It blossomed like a fierce sun, pushing back against the shadows. "Stop," she cried. "I will not let you drag me down." The vault of darkness wavered, caught in her intense radiance. But even as the shadows writhed and flinched, the laughter of the specter poured through the room, a dreadful melody wrapping around them, thick as fog. "You cannot escape your fate, child," it taunted. "You will make the choice to save them or to save yourself." As the walls closed in, Claire fought to hold onto the light, the haunting whispers clawing desperately at her resolve. She stared into the abyss, trembling as she realized the ominous truth. The darkness was tied to her, and she would have to face her greatest demons, But was her salvation worth trading her soul? In the heart of the chaos, a thought formed, refusing to fade. If she had the key, could she also close the doors? The swirling shadows surged, relentless. What would she sacrifice to reclaim her freedom? Claire took a deep breath, ready to confront her worst nightmare. A flicker of hope lingering as the shadows advanced like a tide. What awaited her in the depths of darkness? The shadows crashed against her light like waves against a rocky shore, each impact sending shivers down her spine. Claire's heart raced, the pulse pounding in her ears drowning out the desperate cries of the souls around her. Fear twisted into a knot in her stomach as she felt the darkness drawing closer, clawing at her, beckoning her into its suffocating embrace. Fight! You must fight! The woman had urged, her image flickering faintly, but Claire felt her own resolve slipping like sand through her fingers. Help us, Claire! The cries morphed into a chaotic symphony, battle cries of spirits trapped in an endless loop of despair. The air thickened, wrapping around her like a serpent, tightening with each heartbeat. No! Claire screamed, pushing forward into the light. I want to surrender. She envisioned the lantern, its soft glow warding off the dark. But could she create that light from within? As if sensing her defiance, the specter's laughter echoed again, chilling and sinister. You cannot hope to contain the darkness, child. It hissed, coiling around her like mist. Your petty light will falter. And then the tone shifted, dark and inviting. You will join us. An icy panic gripped her. She was aware of every breath, every heartbeat, each one drawing her closer to the precipice of fear. But there was also a spark deep inside, a flicker that reminded her of who she was. With an effort that burst from her core, Claire thrust her hands out, channeling all she had into the sweet glow building within her. I am not afraid. The luminous energy pulsed and flared, bathing her surroundings in a blinding aura. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the light, faces twisted in torment as they fought against the onslaught. It was working. Her heart soared for a haunted moment, yet she understood the fight was far from over. Roar erupted from the darkest corner of the hallway, an ominous, otherworldly sound, shaking the walls around her. Foolish girl. A figure began to emerge, larger than the rest, cloaked in shadow and despair, a behemoth of darkness, gluttonous for fear. You think your light is enough? You think you can defeat me? Claire's breath caught in her throat. It towered above her, eyes glowing like dying embers, each flicker igniting the terror within. A guttural hunger radiated from the creature, and Claire instinctively took a step back, heart racing fiercely. This presence was nothing like the murmurs at her back. This was primal, raw, and desperate for dominion. What do you want from me? Claire challenged it, clenching her fists. I've done nothing to deserve this. The words felt weak against the weight of the creature's gaze. Everything, it growled, creeping closer, its shadowy tendrils snaking toward her. Your fear, your surrender, that is the only currency of the realm. Determined not to give in, she called upon the figures rising from their misery, their pleas echoing in her ears and fueling her light. You want to take me. I will free you. As the shadows thrashed in agony around her, she felt her power begin to dwindle, but with one last surge of will, she cried out. Together, the spirits, those trapped souls, began to coalesce around her, their forms bathed in a fragile light. Claire could feel their hope invigorating her. It was a gamble, and the stakes were impossibly high. The darkness responded with fury, the air crackling like a summer storm. No, you will not break the bond. Desperation twisted in her gut. The monstrous figure lunged, its maw wide, ready to swallow her whole. In that split second, Claire made the choice. She embraced the light and released her fear, feeling its warmth wash over her as she shouted, I choose to defy you. And then, as the shadows lunged forward, a blinding radiance exploded from her, illuminating the entire hallway. Was this the moment of freedom or the finality of oblivion? What would remain when the light faded, and who would emerge from the dark abyss? The blinding light erupted from Claire, washing over the darkness like a tidal wave. She felt euphoria, a raw, electric surge that pulsed through her being. But the physical world warped around her. Shadows shrieked, twisting in agony, their forms bending and distorting under the power of her light. The monstrous figure faltered, its own darkness retreating, hissing and seething as if it were being scorched away. "Fight! Together!" Claire screamed, her voice hardly recognizable against the chaos. Yet she felt a connection to the lost souls. They weren't just specters anymore. They were flesh and blood, hearts beating with desperate hope mingled with despair. The collective strength surged like a rallying cry, growing louder in her mind. "Break free," Claire implored. She could feel their essence blending with her own. Memories of laughter, warmth, and love flashed before her, each an ember feeding the growing fire. The lanterness glow resonated in her heart, blooming with intensity. With a fierce determination burning bright, she thrust her hands upward, fingers splayed in defiance. "You cannot own us. We are not yours to consume." The shadows around her writhed violently, the weight of fear and anger pulsing like a heartbeat within the darkness. The specter roared a furious crescendo, an echo of souls ripped from the accursed ground. "You win. You cannot escape your fate." But Claire could feel it. Something was shifting, a fracture forming in the madness. The darkness began to splinter, tiny cracks of light seeping through, illuminating the twisted faces watching her. Their features softening, the torment in their eyes flickering with recognition. "Rise with me. Rise together," Claire bellowed, gripping her light tighter. Light danced on the edge of despair as the shadows receded in waves, howling against the brilliance that contended to claim the world around them. Surges of energy erupted within the spirits, illuminating their essence. "Claire, help us. Light the way," they chanted, voices blending into a harmonious crescendo, and their yearning spiraled skyward, intertwining with her defiance. Suddenly, the darkness roared. "You're a fool. You think you can conquer me?" But Claire was resolute. The fusion of her light and the soul's energy amplified her resolve. In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. If the darkness fed on fear, she had to show them the truth of their lives instead: love, joy, humanity. She had to expose the darkness to the light. With every ounce of strength, Claire conjured the sweetest memories: the laughter around the dinner table, the sound of her mother's voice singing softly, the warmth of genuine hugs shared with loved ones. Each vivid image solidified into a singular radiant beam that cut through the fray as the specter lunged forward in its fury. Claire whispered a simple truth: "You are strong, but I am stronger. We will not let you thrive in fear." She pushed her energy outward, focused on the warmth that connected everyone. And the explosion was pure, an incandescent burst that cast shadows into flight. Claire felt the whole foundation shudder as the remaining darkness collapsed inward, a swirling vortex meeting the clarity of light until nothing remained but brilliant visibility. A wave of shock reverberated through her, and then silence. Claire opened her eyes. She was in the corridor once again, but the atmosphere felt different. No more shadows lingered. The air was pure and vibrant. Her heart raced as she surveyed the hallway, now washed clean of ominous whispers. "Mom?" Claire called, her voice echoing against the now silent walls. Time felt suspended, dread battling with a flicker of hope. And then she saw her, a silhouette emerging at the far end of the corridor, hesitating as if testing the air between them. It was her mother, looking as fragile and beautiful as ever, the lines on her face softened by light. Claire, her mother's voice broke, mingling relief with disbelief. "You found me." Tears welled in Claire's eyes. She rushed forward, enveloping her mother in a crushing embrace. "I thought I lost you. I was so scared. But you fought, my love," her mother whispered, warmth radiating between them. "You found the light in the darkness." The two stood together for what felt like an eternity, the bond between them now strengthened by the harrowing experience they had endured. In that tender moment, they both knew they were free as more figures began to emerge from the shadows. Claire held her mother close, witnessing the spirits transforming, the agony on their faces replaced with gratitude. "We are free," one whispered, eyes bright with life. The curse that once bound them now forever shattered. They stepped quietly from the corridor into a garden filled with blooming flowers and vibrant colors, sunlight cascading down like a gentle embrace. Nature thrived, and the air brimmed with laughter, a stark contrast to the dread they had endured within Golden Acres. "We must remember," Claire said, holding her mother's hand tightly. "We must tell their stories so this never happens again." Her mother nodded, determination lingering in her eyes. "And we will. We will keep the light alive for them and for us." With hope ignited in their hearts and a fragile yet unbreakable bond tethering their souls, they stepped forward, ready to embrace a new life. A new beginning, one where darkness would never hold sway again. As they walked into the warmth of the sun, Claire felt the weight of her journey lift. Golden Acres was no longer a place of fear. It was a fading memory, a warning of the strength that comes from light placed against darkness, reminded always through the love of family. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this gripping tale. And don't wait even one more second, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support for the channel. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.